As she walked quietly down the corridor, carrying out an errand for her mistress, she suddenly heard voices coming from a nearby room. The conversation sounded serious and secret. Curious, she moved a little closer to listen, but in that moment her hand accidentally brushed against a vase. It crashed loudly to the floor, and the people inside immediately realized someone was there. Seeing the three men, the young lady understands this day might be her last. One of them is the heir to Marquis Oviedo, Terney Akira Oviedo, closest to the crown prince. Another is the prince's loyal ally, the brilliant knight Diano Shabi Benedetto. The third is Adrian Brish Keitel Jackal Allenson, the sole heir of Affinino. Terrified, the girl explains she came here on the order of Her Highness the Princess. The heir asks who she is. She says she serves at Rufino's palace, but he repeats the question. The girl nervously says she is just a servant and stares at the men in fear. The prince says it doesn't matter and decides to put her into eternal sleep, drawing his sword as she screams. Akira grabs his arm and stops him, saying killing her here will raise suspicion. The man turns to the maid and asks how long she was listening, warning her not to lie. Crying, she admits she heard that his fiancé ran away. He asks if that's all. She adds that the fiancé was actually a man. The men are shocked, and the prince says she must die. Hearing this, the maid collapses and begs for mercy, promising to obey anything. Adrian approaches, asks if she truly agrees to everything, touches her face, and says he chooses her. The main character has no idea what he means or why he is choosing her. The prince notes their similar hair, eyes, and appearance, and says people will overlook small lies. The confused girl asks what she must do, and the prince answers, she will become his bride. So the main character becomes the crown prince's fiancé. Her new identity is Viola Bilbao, a ruined aristocrat. Terney says her background raises no suspicion, and she appears completely clean. Meanwhile, the crown prince wonders why he must marry, and angrily forced the first Essen he met to act as his bride. He didn't expect the knight to resist out of pride and run away, but he will endure this until he gains the throne. Adrian asks about the search for Essen, and the dark-haired man says Diano is looking everywhere. The prince asks why he came, and how the girl's training is going. The young man asks for some rest. His Highness orders him to start training her immediately. The Marquis is surprised but cannot refuse. Adrian demands he take responsibility and make sure the girl is ready for use. The Marquis reluctantly agrees. In one night, her life changes. She was a servant, and now she is the crown prince's fiancée. The Marquis turns to her, says he counts on her, and introduces himself as her older brother, Terney. The girl cannot believe this man has suddenly become her brother. Terney asks if she understands he is her brother, and she thinks it would be better not to know. The main character remembers how, after the prince's order, she was seized and brought to Lily Palace. Lily Palace is where the crown prince's future wife learns palace etiquette. Lying in bed at night, she realizes she cannot rest because training starts tomorrow. At dawn, Terney arrives and begins her lessons while she still struggles to believe this reality. He explains, he is Terney Akira Oviedo, and she is now Atienne Shabil Rabat Oviedo, the Marquis's secret daughter. The girl remembers rumors about the Marquis's sudden daughter but never knew the truth behind it. Terney sighs that none of this would happen if Essen had not run away. Essen was the crown prince's escort knight, and most likely the bride, a man disguised as a woman. The girl wonders why she heard this secret. She only wanted to live peacefully. Terney says she was unlucky to meet that crazy prince, but if she wants to live, she must learn before the ball in 2 weeks. He adds she must resemble Essina as much as possible and perfectly play the bride. She fears she may not survive. She promises to try and calls him Count Oviedo, but he corrects her, since they are now siblings. The Marquis asks if she knows any aristocrats from her servant days. She says a few, but he warns it is not enough. The girl quickly insists she knows them well and understands everything. The prince suddenly enters and asks if their training is finished. The Marquis says almost. The girl looks at him and fears she has already made a mistake. Adrian says since they are almost done, the Marquis should leave, then pushes him out of the room. The girl does not understand why the prince is looking at her that way. 2 people are responsible for her education, Terney and the head maid, Madame Lucy. Lucy tells the lady not to worry about the ball. If she trusts her, she will shine brighter than anyone else, but first, all her clothes need to be altered. The girl thinks this woman is strange and may also know the secret. She cautiously asks the maid if she knows that the former bride was a man. Lucy calmly replies that she knows. She was the one who dressed him in women's clothes and no one guessed. The maid says that the ball gown needs to be altered urgently. The outfit for the emperor's birthday will be magnificent. Lucy assures her that once you see this dress, you will never forget it. The girl thinks about the ball she is about to attend, the emperor's birthday celebration. Lucy recalls that Mr. Essen loved the prince very much. Their relationship was special, so the atmosphere between them was complicated. The maid explains that they had been friends since childhood. She assures the girl that she will quickly get used to it and will not be exposed. Lucy takes measurements and suggests colors that would suit the new Lady Adi. Crown Prince Affanino Adrian has been praised since childhood. He was talented in everything and recognized by society as the son of the empress. Rumor has it that he is the ideal heir, but there is one serious flaw: his terrible temper. Despite this, the rumors continued to spread. In addition, the prince hated women and constantly rejected marriage proposals. And then suddenly a bride appeared, as if sent by fate, Atienne Shabil Oviedo, the suddenly announced daughter of the Marquis. Strangely, society did not ask any questions. The girl realizes that the daughter was actually a man. She couldn't even imagine such a thing and thinks that he ran away because of the prince's character. Atienne decides that this is entirely possible and explains a lot. The prince asks what she is thinking about. The girl quickly replies that she was just lost in thought. Adrian asks if she wants to die right now and pulls out his sword. The girl repeats in horror that she was just thinking. The prince says that it seems she herself wants to tell the world about her death. The girl begs him to let her live. Turney tells the prince to stop scaring her. The girl realizes that it was a joke, but the sword still frightens her. The prince asks her to repeat what he just said. The girl is confused, and Diana turns away. Then she turns to her brother Turney and asks for help, otherwise she will really be sent to the other world. The prince asks where the answer is. The girl assumes that he was talking about a date, but the prince calls it nonsense. Adrian thinks he gave her too many chances. He considers her stupid and doubts that she will be useful. Turney says that someone is better than no one. Diana adds that she seems smart. The prince asks if he objects to his order. Diana quickly replies that he would never dare. The girl realizes that he is of little help. Everyone around her is irritated and could kill her at any moment. Turney asks if the prince is marrying that girl. Adrian furiously asks if he wants to die. The girl listens to the conversation and tries to understand which woman they are talking about. One of the guys says that the princess is looking for the maid she sent to the crown prince with a message. Adrian reminds him that he ordered him to say that she died. Turney doubts that anyone will believe it. The Marquis complains that he has been given another difficult task. Diana suggests that if they are going to kill the girl, they should do it quickly and hide the body. The girl thinks it would be better to sew his mouth shut. He talks too easily about other people's deaths. The prince asks irritably what kind of nonsense this is. Diana replies that some things are better left unsaid. The guy with pink hair declares that he would rather die himself. The prince replies that he does not need to die. The girl thinks she envies him. She wants to live, but people are always threatening to kill her. She raises her hand and cautiously asks, does he really have to have a bride? Until now, the prince had done just fine without one, but everyone was surprised when he suddenly introduced a new bride. The girl thinks that it is not necessary to look for a replacement, but she is told to focus on her duties. She agrees. Turney asks the prince why he is treating her so harshly. The guy explains that the empress wants the crown prince to get married. He used to avoid it, but now he is over 20. The Marquis adds that the empress wants to marry him off to a certain lady, and that this girl is very unusual. Adrian says he would rather destroy the empire than marry that crazy woman. The girl realizes how much he hates her. The prince asks if they have found Essen. They reply that they have not yet, but the search continues. Hearing the conversation, the girl says shyly that she is not really there and asks them to continue. The prince remarks that the heir has been too talkative lately. He reminds them that the guardsman ran away on purpose. Diana suggests that he may have returned home. The prince replies that he has already checked. He is not there. The Marquis is surprised. The prince already has a replacement, so why continue the search at all? Adrian asks if he really believes that. He adds that in any case, the girl must become useful in these 2 weeks, because the empress's birthday celebration must go perfectly and without the slightest problem. Atienne apologizes and cautiously asks what will happen if it is revealed that she is a fake. His Highness calmly replies that in that case, she will be plunged into eternal sleep. Therefore, it is better to try her best. Turney turns to the girl and suggests they have a friendly brother-sister chat. At this moment, the main character thinks that they have barely gotten to know each other, and he is already calling them family. Although in reality, they do not share a single drop of blood. The girl understands one thing. She needs to get out of this place as soon as possible. The Marquis suddenly asks Ati if she is planning to run away. Hearing this, the girl decides for a moment that she is dealing with a true seer. However, she confidently replies that of course she is not. The young lady asks what will happen if she does try to escape and is caught. He replies calmly that the outcome is obvious. Her head will simply be chopped off. The guy explains that she herself must understand this. The inner palace of the imperial family is guarded by the strictest security, and after Essen's appearance, security has been tightened even more, especially in the palaces of Lily and Fiancée. Turney says that Adrian has no mercy. Even the fact that she is still alive can be considered incredible mercy on his part. The girl is surprised, and he immediately adds that he just said that. The young man continues and says that the thing is, he is her brother. That is why Ati remains alive, even when she provokes Adrian. But then he quickly adds that this is not about her at all, and hopes that she will live a long life. On that day, the main character finally got rid of the idea of running away. She was sure that Turney hadn't lied to her, intentionally or not. After that, she had to immerse herself completely in her studies, because her survival depended on it. Ati studied the structure of palace life, and all the duties she had to perform. She was able to master this fairly quickly, only because she herself came from a ruined noble family. Otherwise, the crown prince would have put her to eternal sleep long ago. The girl thought their lessons were incredibly cruel, and completely merciless. But despite this, she was even glad. The more she learned, the higher her chances of staying alive became. The main character felt that she could no longer endure it. Madame Lucy's laughter, who endlessly brought new dresses, took all her strength away. Each one was even more beautiful than the last. Finally, Ati couldn't take it anymore and asked when the real studying would begin. She believed that beautiful clothes would have no effect on her future, but knowledge was vitally important to her now. Lucia just smiled and calmly said that everything was fine. She felt that the girl would do just fine. Surprised, the lady immediately asked how she could do well if she knew absolutely nothing. At that moment, Diana was passing by. He was curious to know how the lady was doing. He opened the door and asked if the training was going well. Lucia replied with a smile that everything was just perfect and excellent. At this point, the girl has no idea what could be perfect about the situation. But the young man just nods and says that everything is fine. Then he closes the door and calmly leaves. Etienne thinks that he is completely failing in his duties. Shouldn't he at least check to see if she is really being taught anything? Several days have passed since Etienne began her training, all for the sake of becoming the perfect future wife of the crown prince. Adrian reflects on the fact that he entrusted her with this task without much hope. But the girl is doing unexpectedly well. She may seem confused, foolish, and far from ideal, but she is quite quick-witted. She quickly assesses the situation and knows how to adapt to the mood of those around her. The prince thinks that perhaps the reason is that her life is at stake. She learns incredibly quickly. Of course, she does it only for the sake of survival. But it seems that in the end, she may really prove to be useful. Turney suggests that there may be another reason. After all, Ati originally comes from the nobility, which means she has good innate qualities. His Highness thinks that they are not even real brother and sister, but Turney so affectionately calls her Ati. Then he asks what qualities he is referring to, and he clarifies whether he is talking about the innate qualities of the crown prince's future wife. The Marquis objects and calmly explains that he is not talking about the bride at all. He is talking about his younger sister. For a moment, Adrian thinks he could put him to sleep forever. But he decides that now is not the time. If he gets rid of him, he will have to deal with a mountain of work afterwards. Turney says he is happy to have such a lovely sister. What's more, she obeys him perfectly. Diana believes this is only because he constantly threatens her. The Marquis announces that today she will finally begin her dance lessons. He then asks if the prince will be her partner for the first lesson. His Highness asks if he is serious. Then he calls him an idiot. Turney replies that such a noble brother simply has no choice. After all, his poor sister needs help. The Marquis thinks that at first, this guy wasn't happy about all the headaches Viola was causing him either. But now, for some reason, he even likes her, and he doesn't understand why. Lucy says that she has ordered about 50 dresses to start with. Hearing this, the main character is surprised and asks why she needs so many. The thought flashes through her mind, will she even be able to wear them all in her lifetime? Madame says that this is her first order, so she deliberately made it modest. Next time, she plans to take about 200. After that, she cheerfully asks if it will be fun to choose from them. At this moment, the main character thinks that they clearly want to use her as a dress-up doll. Meanwhile, the lady says that tomorrow they will choose accessories together. And she smiles again. The young lady thinks that this laughter alone will soon give her a nervous breakdown. Lucy calmly suggests that she sit down for a while. Etienne looks at the dresses and thinks that this is truly a huge leap forward. Once upon a time, it was difficult for her to buy even the cheapest dress. The girl thinks that if she steals even one, her life will surely end. So it's better not to even think about it. But something else surprises her. Why isn't he here yet? The young lady approaches the door and accidentally overhears a conversation. The maids are discussing that Lady Gabrielle is now with the empress. It seems that it's all because she wants to marry his highness. The main character knows that Gabrielle is a lady from the famous chancellor's family, and she becomes curious. Could she be the very same madwoman the prince spoke of? One maid asks her friend why his highness hates Lady Gabrielle so much. In her opinion, she is very beautiful. Another maid responds with a question and asks if she has heard the rumor. She then says that his highness allegedly loves men. That is why he hates Lady Gabrielle and other ladies. The maid objects and says that if that's true, then what about Lady Etienne? The maid replies that there are rumors that Lady Etienne is really just a cover. Upon hearing this, the main character briefly thinks that she has been exposed. However, she then realizes that this is impossible. She becomes curious about who is spreading such rumors. It appears that the palace is full of meaningless gossip. Lucy brings a whole stack of books and tells the lady that now she has to learn them. Then she clarifies that these are books that need to be mastered today. The young lady looks at the book and is horrified to see that there are no pictures. The letters are tiny, and there is an endless amount of text. Even if she reads all day, it is simply impossible to remember everything. Madame informs her that dance lessons will begin at 7 o'clock. Upon hearing this, the girl is shocked, but she understands that she must endure all this if she wants to survive and continue living. The prince asks how the maid is doing. Madame immediately corrects him and says that His Highness should call her his bride. He agrees and asks how his bride is doing. Lucy replies that she is doing very well. Then she asks where he found such a sweet and beautiful lady. She is innocent, obedient, and listens to her well. Perhaps she is slightly inferior to Knight Essen in appearance, but that makes her even more interesting to adorn. The woman says that if you choose the right outfits, the girl will be simply charming. From morning till night, she diligently studies etiquette, poetry, singing, dancing, playing instruments, history, and even philosophy. Madame is surprised that she has never expressed dissatisfaction. And yet she continues to study so diligently. The prince turns to Diane and asks what he thinks of Etienne. He replies that he is not sure yet, but judging by how she gets along with people in the palace, everything seems fine. He suggests watching her a little longer. His Highness thinks he needs a little more time. He wonders if he can just leave her alone and calmly get through the upcoming ball, which is coming up very soon. Adrian realizes that if something goes wrong, he will instantly find himself married to that crazy woman. After that, he asks if there is any news about Essen. The guy indignantly asks how long he has to do this. He is told that until he becomes emperor. Essen cries out and says that he did not become his knight for this. Adrian replies that he knows this, although from the outside it seems as if he really is his knight. The young man asks if he has ever seen a knight in a dress. The prince replies that he is the first, so it should be considered an honor. Essen asks irritably if he is saying this because he wants to fall into an eternal sleep from his sword right now. He adds that he will definitely not fall into an eternal sleep before he kills him. After that, he declares that he has had enough and tears off his women's clothes. The prince thinks he didn't expect such an escape. Perhaps then it would have been worth dealing with him properly. He also assumes that the empress and that girl are to blame for everything. Society believed that Adrian simply did not like girls, but the truth was quite different. In fact, he did not like people at all. Perhaps this was due to those with whom he grew up from childhood. Others attributed it to his shyness. But those who were closer to Hadrian knew the truth very well. The empress was constantly dissatisfied with her son, who showed no interest in ladies. All his hatred for people began because of one girl, but the empress did not understand this at all. Once she suddenly ordered that if Adrian did not bring a bride within a week, she herself would marry him to that girl. The crown prince had many reasons to avoid her, but one of them was the most important. When they were 7 years old, the girl hid his horse just because Adrian did not want to play with her and was riding. As a result, the horse died of starvation, and the girl simply forgot about it. When the prince began to question her about it, the girl responded coldly and indifferently. After that, Adrian began to hate people, including that girl. Not wanting to marry her, Adrian began to hold balls every day for a week. He hoped to find a bride, but, as expected, this proved impossible. In the end, the fateful week flew by. Not knowing what to do next, Adrian made a desperate decision. He dressed the knight Essen in a woman's dress. Of course, the knight himself completely disagreed with this. The prince orders Essen to be caught at all costs. At that moment, a servant reports that Albert has arrived from Grey's palace. Hearing this, he realizes that it is the empress's palace and orders that he be told that he is not there. Albert addresses His Highness and says that he knows perfectly well what he is inside. Then he conveys the empress's order. She said that Lady Gabrielle has arrived, so the crown prince must attend the tea party. Turney greets her little sister and asks if she studied a lot today. The girl replies that she did as much as she could. The Marquis says that if she does not want to fall into an eternal sleep one day, she needs to study harder. The young lady asks in surprise what it means to fall into an eternal sleep. The guy explains that His Highness unfortunately couldn't come, so he's here instead. The main character replies that unfortunately she's actually glad about that. In her mind, she wishes that both of these people would just disappear from her life. Turney asks his sister why she is avoiding him and won't come closer. He wonders if she thinks he is dirty. After that, he starts to pretend to whine and complain that she is his only little sister. Then he calls her a bad auntie. At this moment, the young lady decides to simply ignore him. In her opinion, he is behaving completely inappropriately. Lucy claps her hands and announces the start of the lesson. The young man reminds her that she called him dirty, even though she is now holding his hand. At that moment, music begins to play, and they start dancing. The Marquis says that she is quite good at dancing. Madame smiles and replies that the girl really does listen to him. After that, she asks where he learned to dance. Etienne explains that she practiced a little before her family went bankrupt. Hearing this, Madame sighs heavily. The girl thinks she is almost indifferent. On the contrary, the whole situation is more like a disaster. Turney says that everything will be fine. Their family will never go bankrupt, and she is no longer alone. He takes her hands. At that moment, the young lady thinks that she would prefer to be alone. Lucy suggests ending the dancing for today. The young gentleman says that he will then go and report back. The main character is surprised, because they have only danced once. She is sure that they are just too lazy to teach her. The Marquis asks his sister what she is doing. Then he says that she should go with them too. He takes her by the hand and asks again why she thinks he is dirty, since he has washed his hands thoroughly. Adrian thinks he has been deceived. At that moment, the lady with blue hair turns to him and says that she has missed him very, very much. The prince reflects that although he came here on the empress's orders, he does not have to stay here without her presence. Gabrielle asks where he is going. She decides that he was so embarrassed to see her that he is now trying to hide. She says that there is no need for that, because she feels the same way. He no longer needs to hide his feelings. The prince thinks that lately the empress has been trying to set him up with this girl. He decides that even if his mother calls him, he will not agree in the coming months. The lady with blue hair says that if he leaves now, the empress will be upset. Then she informs him that Her Majesty has asked her to give him something. Gabrielle says that if he is not here when the empress arrives, an incredible gift awaits him. After these words, the prince decides to wait. The girl says that they haven't seen each other for a long time. He probably didn't even sleep because he missed her. She claims that she felt the same way. The young man just agrees. The lady says that he doesn't even need to say anything, because she already knows that he missed her. However, he objects. Then Gabrielle declares that strong denial means the opposite, and asks if he missed her very much. At that moment, Turney, Diano, and Etienne unexpectedly arrive. Seeing them, Gabrielle has no idea what is going on. To explain this encounter, we need to go back a little. The Marquis turns to Adrian and tells him he should listen. But suddenly he realizes that Adrian has disappeared somewhere. Diano explains that the girl has appeared. Hearing this, the black-haired guy cries out and asks if she has really arrived. Diano replies that the empress has invited her to tea with the crown prince. Turney turns to the main character and says that it is time for her to attack. The Marquis greets Madame Lucy. She asks in surprise if the young gentleman has finished his report. He replies that it is not important now. The girl has appeared, which means it is time for their atti to make her appearance. Madame says that she now understands the situation. Since Madame Gabrielle has arrived, Lady Etienne must also go there. She then explains to the girl that this lady is the famous daughter of the Chancellor. The woman continues and says that Lady Gabrielle belongs to the Nobel family. This family is friends with the Valerio family, relatives of the Empress on her mother's side. Therefore, almost all of Her Majesty's love goes to her. Lucy says that she is not a very pleasant person. At this point, the main character thinks that Madame clearly does not like Gabrielle. However, she is well aware that this lady's family is incredibly wealthy. Their business is well known even among commoners. The main character recalls that when her family went bankrupt, part of their valuable property went to the Nobel family. Now she finally understands that Gabrielle is the daughter of that very famous family. Lucy adds that despite her questionable reputation, she is still very popular in high society. Turney says that everything is fine, because their family is much better off. The woman thinks that it is time for them to prepare. Etienne asks in surprise what exactly they should prepare for. Madame replies that the lady must go to His Highness the Crown Prince. The girl asks why. Lucy explains that she is his fiancée and must take the prince away from Lady Gabrielle. Hearing this, the main character does not understand why she should do this. She does not need this prince at all. On the contrary, she wants to tell the lady to take him. But the woman urges her and tells her to consider it a rehearsal before the ball. Turney tells his sister that everything will be fine because they are there for her. At that moment, the girl feels that such words have lifted her spirits. Diano asks her to wait a minute. Then he says that it would be better to put this on her, because Essen always wore a veil. The Marquis urges everyone to hurry up, otherwise the girl will finally get to him. The main character looks at this girl and thinks that this means she is the one. It seems that she has interrupted their pastime. The girl carefully assesses her with her gaze. But does she know that these two men once saved her life? Diano suddenly announces that his sword has been left all alone on the parade ground. Most likely it is now crying in complete solitude. Turney says that he suddenly has urgent business to attend to. It seems he forgot to turn off the light in his room. The main character thinks that they are real traitors. They just left her alone, and she feels terribly awkward at that moment. Gabrielle turns to the lady and says that they haven't seen each other in a long time. The prince immediately intervenes and says that she is his fiancée and is very busy right now. The Duchess replies that Her Majesty the Empress has officially invited her to dinner, and, of course, His Highness must join them as well. The prince calmly replies that he will not be there. The lady is surprised and says that since he is so busy, there is nothing to be done. She hopes that next time they will definitely have dinner together. Only then does she realize that he did not even say he was busy. The Duchess turns to the maid and says that the tea has gone cold, so she needs to bring a new pot. She adds that this tea is only drunk by the Nobel family, and that she prepared it especially for His Highness. When the maid brought the new tea and poured it, the lady took a small sip. Suddenly, she cries out and demands to know who prepared this tea, then orders the culprit to leave immediately. The main character does not understand what has suddenly happened. There do not appear to be any problems, and the tea smells very pleasant. Gabrielle asks the maid if she made the tea. Then she abruptly says that these are not the tea leaves she asked for, and asks if she can finally get her act together. After saying this, she pours the tea on the maid. Etienne is shocked by what is happening. She simply does not understand what is going on, and quietly asks what that was all about. The maid falls to her knees and begins to beg for forgiveness. The Duchess coldly replies that she had better behave herself if she doesn't want her family to be kicked out of here. She says that such a maid has ruined her mood and is about to throw a cup at her. The young lady quickly turns to her and asks her to stop. Then she grabs her by the arm. Gabrielle asks in surprise what she is talking about. Ati replies that she thinks this is too rude a way to solve problems. Yes, the maid made a mistake, but the mistress could show generosity. The Duchess asks if she means to say that she is not generous. She then adds that this is her personal maid and that it is up to her alone to decide what punishment she will receive. The main character replies that she is not just a maid, but first and foremost a human being. The lady with blue hair asks in surprise what she just said. The girl calmly repeats that this servant is not only a maid, but first and foremost a human being. Etienne explains that it is perfectly normal to scold maids, but the ability to turn a blind eye to minor mistakes shows the true nobility of the mistress. Gabrielle asks if she wants to take the maid in. Then she understands why she is defending her so fiercely. Eti calmly replies that if the proceedings had not taken place before her eyes, she would not have intervened. But it seems that the lady has forgotten that His Highness the Crown Prince is here, and she asks if she herself does not think that she is being rude. Hearing this, Adrien thought that she had put it very accurately, and she spoke with considerable confidence. At that moment, he realized that this creature was capable of anger. Since childhood, Gabrielle had been different from the others. It was common for her to slap the maids. Sometimes she even forced them to wear rags. Adrien never liked how Gabrielle humiliated others, but it didn't bother him much because she never touched him. However, now he was more surprised by something else. Why did she decide to do this right in front of him? His Highness suggests ending the meeting for today. In his opinion, the outcome is already clear. He turns to Gabrielle and says that she looks tired, so it would be better to go home. The lady with blue hair asks in surprise what he is talking about, but the gentleman replies that he will tell his mother everything himself and escorts her to the palace exit. When Gabrielle left, the main character looked at the prince and apologized. She said that she must have forgotten her place, but he calmly replied that everything was fine and suggested that she continue in the same vein. Adrien says that she should not pay attention to anyone's opinion but his. After all, he is her master, and her life depends on him. At that moment, the butler informs His Highness that the empress is summoning him. The prince replies to tell her that he has gone hunting. The man cautiously says that the empress already knows that he has not gone anywhere. He is not hunting, not involved in politics, and not even practicing fencing. The prince realizes that he has used all these excuses too many times already. Since that day, the empress has summoned him countless times, and each time he has come up with a new reason. Diano suddenly declares loudly that this is impossible. After all, His Highness is about to train with him in the art of sword fighting. They have just discussed this and will soon be heading to the parade ground. Therefore, he sincerely apologizes to the empress, but his duties are more important. The butler says he will convey this message. Adrien turns to the young man and tells him he is doing a good job. The young man with pink hair immediately asks if it is true that His Highness will be training with him. The prince replies that he has no intention of training. Diano indignantly says that he must do so, because it will be reported to the empress. Besides, they haven't fought for a whole week. Adrien hands him some papers and says that if he can figure them out in 30 minutes, then they will train. The young man takes the documents and thanks His Highness. At that moment, the prince thinks he is a real idiot. After all, it is simply impossible to deal with this so quickly. The main character watches His Highness train and thinks that she was literally caught and brought here right after class. She realizes that he is really good with a sword and could behead her with a single movement if he wanted to. Turney cries out and says he's sorry. After all, he almost won and could have teased him about it for the rest of his life. The girl asks in surprise if he isn't his assistant. Diano says that in fact he cannot lose. He just does it with a smile. But today, for some reason, he is in a particularly good mood, and it seems to him that for the first time, he feels him so close. Adrien asks the lady what she is doing here. Ati remains silent. Then the Marquis explains that she is smarter than she seems, which is why the lessons ended earlier. His Highness says that they can check it later. Then he turns to the lady and suggests that she try to get angry. She just shakes her head and doesn't understand what that means. The prince asks if something is bothering her. Then he says that of course it is. Especially her. The girl objects, and he replies that he is glad about that because he does not need a dissatisfied person around him. At this moment, the main character thinks that she can't even remember how many times her life has been hanging by a thread. Turney says he had an incredibly difficult day today. Diana agrees and says he did too. After all, their crown prince is a very difficult person. The Marquis remarks that some people have to spend all day following orders. Others are lucky enough to simply practice with a sword. Diana replies that he loves how persistently His Highness attacks him, but today, he seemed less interested. Perhaps because he himself is too good. The guy asks if he thinks his skills are just not very good. Hearing this, the main character thinks that Turney must have enough common sense, because only a madman would say such a thing. The Marquis says that his cheeks are already burning, so he suggests that his friend leave quickly. Ati realizes that they are alone. Adrian asks if she has eaten. The girl replies that she has not yet. Then he suggests that she go. The lady asks in surprise where exactly. His Highness replies that he doesn't like clueless people either. After that, they head off to lunch. Sitting at the table, the girl feels very uncomfortable. The gentleman asks if she doesn't like the food. She immediately objects and says that everything is very tasty. Then he wonders why she is eating so slowly. Etienne explains that she is simply trying such delicious food for the first time. The prince immediately calls the chef. And in a few minutes, a whole table of various dishes appears in front of the girl. The young lady thinks that this is a kind of care on the part of the crown prince. Then she bows her head and wishes him bon appétit. A servant approaches His Highness and whispers something quietly in his ear. The prince replies that he understands and will come later. The servant says he will convey this to His Majesty. The prince turns to the girl and says he will see her out. She is surprised, because she thought he would just tell her to go alone. Ati apologizes and asks if he shouldn't be leaving. He replies that she is right. The girl wonders why he is coming with her then. Adrian explains that he is afraid she might run away. Lucy asks the lady what she thinks is on the schedule for today. The girl replies that it's school as usual, but the lady objects and says that today they are going to Grace Palace. Hearing this, the main character is surprised. She realizes that this is the Empress's palace and wonders if today is the day she will fall into eternal sleep. If she had known in advance, she would have at least slept longer. But even so, she cannot breathe easily before such an outcome. Etienne cautiously asks if she really has to go. Madame is surprised by this question and says that the Empress herself is waiting for her. Therefore, they need to hurry. The girl asks if His Highness the Crown Prince will go with her. In her mind, she admits that he is useless, but even so, it is better than meeting the Empress alone. Lucy replies that the Empress secretly invited only her mistress, and that is a great honor. The young lady thinks she does not need such an honor at all. Madame says that they have finally finished preparing. She is delighted that she has such golden hands. According to her, her mistress looks incredibly beautiful. When the lady leaves the room, she meets the prince. He asks where she is going. The girl remembers that the Empress summoned her secretly and does not understand whether she can talk about it. His Highness reminds her that he hates it when problems are created twice. Then he asks again where she is going. The young lady does not know how to respond and does not understand what is happening with this person today. Lucy greets the Crown Prince and explains that the lady is going to a meeting with Her Majesty, the Empress. Hearing this, the main character thinks, could she have just said that? The prince asks if she is really going to see his mother. The girl confirms this. Adrian says that if she says anything stupid, he won't leave her alone. The girl calmly replies that she is sure he will do just that. His Highness says that he is worried after all. Therefore, he advises her to answer only yes to any question the Empress asks. The young lady agrees and says that she will go. In her mind, however, she thinks that she just needs to escape as quickly as possible. The prince calls out to the girl and tells her that she is going in the wrong direction. Then he smiles and invites her to follow him. As she follows His Highness, the girl notices that the patterns on the doors are made of gold. She thinks that if she could tear off even a small piece, she could live the rest of her life without hunger. Adrian tells her not to block the way. The young lady asks if he is going to go in. He responds with a question, asking her why she thinks he came here. Ati apologizes and says that the Empress summoned only her. But the guy doesn't even listen and just opens the door. The Empress greets Lady Etienne. The main character immediately responds with a greeting to Her Majesty. The prince's mother invites the girl to sit down. When Ati sits down, she feels goosebumps running down her skin.